Tell me, what do you want to know?
Sir, looking at your profile, sir, you are an architect and you teach and you have your own firm. You also did research work and whatnot, sir. So, sir, I just wanted to know what's the behind the scenes story for all these achievements and everything.
Well, nothing was really fully planned out. The basic focus always is at an abstract level, not really at a tangible level. That's the way I believe. So you don't focus on things which is like, you don't say that, okay, I need to make, so much rupees per month or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so my idea of focus is to always focus on abstract goals. Things like, I would like to see myself contributing somewhere, for example. Okay,
To the society.
yeah, in some form. So once you have that higher focus, then you are moving towards that using multiple ways. Okay, so it is something which I have been trying to tell youngsters, that many times youngsters are focused on immediate things and things you can touch and feel. I'll get that job, or I'll do this type of startup, or I will, all things to do with the real world. But that is not many times in your control, especially when you're young. You cannot really control that, right? Because people will pull you from here and there from various locations, and then many times you can't say no also. You don't have the power to say no. So it is always better to have a higher goal on which you focus, rather than on local goals of what you see. Oh, I will buy this keyboard, or I will buy this kind of mouse, or this kind of computer. Those are all not the things to really focus on. Those things come and go accidentally. So in that process, your mind is reasonably flexible, that if things change around you, you are not going to get so dumbstruck or so lost because you thought that you wanted to go like this. There are many youngsters who will say that, oh, first I will do a job, then I will do this, then I will do this, then I will do that. I don't know how they can do it, because I think that's a very rigid way of going about doing things. So once you have that flexibility, that you're not going to get stuck if things change very widely, then what you do is you end up being very efficient in doing things. Okay,
Okay.
see, like I'll give you an exercise. You can hold your four fingers like this, and you can hold your four fingers. So there are people who say, okay, these four things I will do first, then I will do this, then I will do this, then I will do this. But the problem is that these things which you want to do may not be in your control. So you end up getting very stretched with that. People will spend 6 years doing PhD, or 8 years doing
Yeah.
PhD, and then they find that after that they realize that the world has changed, and then they don't know what to do. So instead of that, you should interleave as much as possible. So
Okay.
instead of doing it like this, you do it like this. So you do a little bit of this, little bit of this, little bit of this, little bit of this, little bit of this. Okay. So what happens is, when things change, you say, okay, okay, it has changed. Okay, doesn't matter. I'll move into something else. Okay. Because your goal is at a higher level, right? So that goal, that Lakshya is still there. How you contribute. So that does not change. That can't be changed very easily. So you end up doing many things. It's as simple as that. That's how it. I
Uh,
hope that helped. That answered
yes,
your
sir.
question.
Yes, sir. Sir, you started teaching somewhere in between starting your own firm and working for different firms. So, was teaching an experimental venture to explore new fields or something like that?
Teaching I started long time back, when practically after college itself. At your age, practically I was teaching. Not at your age, you are just out of school, right? So just after IIT, when a year or 2 years after IIT, I started teaching. Okay,
Okay.
and I was earlier helping another teacher, and then I was teaching on my own, and it was quite nice. The reason I started teaching is because I'm quite a nerd. Okay,
Okay.
and the problem with a nerd is that you don't have reality checks. No, you don't know who you're not talking to anybody. So what happens is that you may be thinking, I am the biggest guy around, like I am the one who can do things. You understand? So that I was luckily aware of that. So what happens is that when you are teaching somebody, you are taking up the responsibility of telling the right things.
Yes, sir.
And you are very vulnerable, right? If some student will say, oh sir, that is not how it is, this is how it is, and then you say, oh okay, let me think about that. You understand? So that is the way it works. So when you are teaching, uh, you are also learning. In fact, you learn a lot more when you are teaching, because you have to simplify things for the student.
Yes.
And when you simplify things for the student, you become more clear about what you are telling. You know. So I use a technique known as the Socratic method.
Socratic method.
Yeah, so it's a pretty interesting technique. It was supposed to have been the way Socrates used to conduct a discussion. So when you're a teacher, especially when you're teaching teenagers, this probably may not apply at a school level, but when you're like at your age, you should start realizing it, that there is this. You need to have the spirit of encouraging questions. Okay, as a teacher. So what happens is that if a teacher comes to the class very opinionated, I'm right, I know exactly what it is, I know, I'm going to tell you what it is, that is called the pedagogical method of teaching.
Okay.
Okay, pedagogy is like a pedagogue was a Greek slave who was a servant in Greek houses, rich houses, where that servant will take the child by the hand, by the finger, to the school and bring that child back.
Okay.
So such slaves are called pedagogues
Okay.
during the Greek times. So that form of teaching, where you hold the student by the finger and say, okay, do this and do this and do this, that form is like, so the teacher equips with a certain amount of pedagogy, okay, certain syllabus material and things like that, and
Mm.
then say, okay, do this first, then learn this and learn this, like that. Okay, so but when you teach teenagers, you have to use, because teenagers are practically becoming adult very fast.
Yeah.
So there the Socratic method very helps. So when a student says something and then you say, oh, I didn't realize it, let us discuss. So both of you are more or less at the same level.
Yeah.
Okay, so you are encouraging the student to come up with that student's point of view, and then you start picking up holes in his whatever he's saying. You understand? And that sometimes irritates students a lot. It's called the Socratic irony. Socratic method is pretty interesting, where the teacher does not like to say that that teacher is the expert. You understand? So the teacher will encourage the student to come up with his or her own thoughts about some matter. And it's a little lengthy because you have to find out what is called internal contradictions.
Okay.
Okay, so when a student is talking about a design and he will say that I created this library here, and then later on he says next to the library there's a staircase, and then I'll keep listening to everything without any judgment, and then I'll start saying, but you said library is here, this is where people are reading, but they need quiet, but in the staircase people are running around, so there will be noise. So then the student will say, oh, I didn't think of that. You understand? So
Yeah.
what happens is you are surfacing contradictions. Or it can happen with me also. I may say something and the student will point out some contradiction. So what happens? So that's called the Socratic method. So when you're teaching, to answer your question, the reason why I teach and I started teaching is because you're putting your theories in front of students, and then you're waiting for them to find out what are the holes in my theory. You
Yeah.
understand? So teaching is a very good form of learning,
Okay.
provided you are aware that you're doing like that. Otherwise, it can, you can distort people's brains, like, which happens, right? If you're a very strong personality and you're standing in front of a student, whatever the teacher will say, the student will think it is right.
Yeah.
Which is pretty sad, because uh, then what happens is, then the student rises up only to the level of the teacher. The teacher becomes a block.
Yeah.
Okay, especially in India, we are so respectful of elder people and teachers. So we look at teachers as if they are big guys. Like, you
They know
understand?
everything.
They know everything, and some teachers love that. They love to feel that, okay, a lot of people think that I know everything. But a teacher should step out of the way. The student should grow more than the teacher, no?
Yeah.
Otherwise, what is the fun? Like, you
Yes.
understand? So one of the nice things about teaching is when the student does a lot more, and then I feel very thrilled that I was part of that journey.
Okay.
You understand? That is how
Yeah.
teaching is. That's the way I look at it. So that was the reason why I teach. I don't teach because it makes me money. It made me zero money.
So you also have your personal software, or I must say, you created a software. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure a lot of questions like why you made this, what motivated you, you would have answered a lot of questions like those. But my question is, so what was that particular incident that gave you the final push that you decided now I need to solve this problem and a software will help me with that? So what was that incident behind it?
Oh, the incident and the motivation came before I knew that it was to be done in software. Okay.
Okay.
So I was an associate for Hafiz Contractor.
Yeah.
I don't know whether you know Hafiz Contractor. He is today probably the leading architect in India.
Okay.
And he is internationally known also. He's got a office, very big office, 300, 400 people work for him.
Oh.
Okay. But those days when I was working for him, we were just 8 people, all of us. Just 8. So I was one of his early associates. And when I was working for him, I learned a lot from his office. So I also learned how really good architects can make mistakes. Okay. So one of the things which was quite surprising for me when I left IIT and I joined it, I came with the impression that if you have a lot of talent and a lot of knowledge, then you can actually deliver really good things.
Hmm.
Okay, because that's the impression you get, right? That you are from IIT, you know a lot of knowledge or whatever. Not just me, anybody. So when I met Hafiz, he's a very knowledgeable architect. He's a very talented architect, extremely talented. And yet there were serious mistakes happening in the designs which you were making.
Okay.
Okay, so it bothered me. I said that how come this guy is such a talented architect? Okay, and yet some of his building, not all of it, some of his projects are not really up to the mark. And when I examined it, it is like examining this onion peels, like you remove layer by layer. And then I realized that there is some very serious problem, not in him, not in Hafiz Contractor or anything like that. In my entire field of architecture, there is this issue of language.
Okay. With the contractor.
No. Language as in actual linguistics. Like you have this keyboard, right? This is a
Okay.
keyboard, right? Okay. Now somebody went and erased all the marks here. Okay. And then internally also it changed the order of the keys. How are you going to type anything?
It. Uh, I cannot do anything about it. It will be
Yeah, you will not
impossible.
be able to make any sense of it. It'll take a
Yeah.
lot of effort to, and then slowly you will realize that this key is that key is that, like that. But then it becomes a personal connection of how you deposit your words, right?
Okay.
If the same keyboard is given to somebody else with all the thing erased and everything here and there, that person will also finally will take a lot of time for him to figure out, right?
Yeah.
Right. So what happens is when you have any field where the linguistics, how do you express that language? How do you express that field?
Okay.
And if that expression is faulty, then each person will work out his solution by himself. You understand? So each person is carrying his personal keyboard. You understand? And that keyboard, the data goes into the computer, but the same keyboard cannot be used by the other architect.
Yeah.
Okay, so that ends up with each building in its own silo.
Okay.
Okay, see, look at the situation here. How does new knowledge come into the world? In what form does it come into the world?
By experience.
Okay, not from that angle. How does the other person come to know that this some new knowledge has come?
I
By
guess.
reading,
Yeah. Communication and reading.
by reading something, right? Or you have to look at some diagram, or you have to look at some
Mm.
symbol, right? And there has to be previous agreement between the parties, right? Correct.
Yes.
So if I say this letter A, this is A, and if you say no, that is M, then battle again. It will not work, right? So there has to be previous agreement on that. Like when some one guy puts a YouTube video, okay, and he made it in Vietnamese,
Okay.
okay. Now, unless and until you know Vietnamese, you will not be able to make much sense of what he's said there, right? Correct. So similarly, you are reading a PDF file, and if that is written in English, but you are an expert in, you don't know English, you know Vietnamese, then you're stuck, right? You cannot do anything. But that's as far as spoken language is concerned. But when you talk about specialized fields, like say mathematics, okay, in mathematics you have like this red S kind of thing, which is an integration sign, right?
Yeah.
Right, which looks like a S kind of thing,
Mm.
right? But what if you did not know that actually is an integration sign? You will find lost, right? You will not know what to make out of that maths, right? You understand?
It will be
So
just a random symbol to me.
yeah, it will be some random shapes which you are seeing, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is that if you go into the branch of linguistics, which is language, how expression of language happens. So we have spoken language, then we have written language. And linguists normally talk about written language as a kind of, their main focus is on spoken language and what happens in the brain and all that. But they also talk about the written language. Okay, how do you deposit the language in a format that when that person is not there, the other person can come and read it?
Yeah.
So if you extend that, you have specialized written language, like mathematics has got the specialized language. You have to have integration sign, you have to have division sign and multiplication. If you confuse between division and multiplication, you add it, right? So you can multiply by zero, but you cannot divide by zero.
Yeah.
So all this confusion will be there, and then it will not make any sense. So to come back to your original question, that what was that event which made me get into this? So the event was like this. It kind of, there was no real one event. I started thinking that great architect, Hafiz contractor, some buildings are bad. Okay. How come a knowledgeable guy is ending up he's a nice guy. We are still good friends. Okay,
Okay.
so how come he's making such the buildings are ending up pretty stupidly? So when I started peeling the layers, finally I realized that architects are not really talking about architecture.
Okay.
Everybody is using their own special keyboard. Okay, so what happens is whatever information goes into the world, each information, only that architect knows very well what he did, but other architects don't know what is done. So
Yeah.
architecture becomes very difficult to criticize.
Okay.
You understand? If you had somebody wrote a theorem in maths and the other guy did not understand all the symbols and integration sign, how will he criticize it?
Yeah.
He can't even read it, so he can't even criticize it, right? So this is a situation in architecture. Architecture is the only specialized field where we are relying on a very old method of making drawings.
Hmm.
Okay, and that method of making drawings in linguistics, they are called pictographs.
Yeah.
Okay, where you have cave paintings and all that, where you see a bird, so you make a picture of the bird also on the screen, on the wall, not on the screen, on the wall, right? So there are direct references from the outside world to whatever you draw on the wall, right? But then in that period, people knew what it was going on, but later on, nobody knows. You understand? So
Yes.
there are lots of very interesting points in linguistics which needs to be fully understood. And that is not so. I started there. So I actually, my interest was not really software. My interest was linguistics.
Okay.
Okay, so I invented, I not invented, I discovered some very interesting bit of mathematics in architecture.
Yeah.
And I got an All India award for it.
Yeah.
And to use that maths, the software came. That is how the software.
Okay.
So software was like a vehicle
Hmm. Hmm.
for the mathematics. I'm not looking at software industry as one industry by itself. Software industry is very badly misunderstood. A lot of software will have to make sense only in context of the actual life around you, right? Why would somebody just write software just like that? I love writing software, right? You are solving a problem with somebody, right? For somebody in some situation. So the software has to be looked at from that angle. So software is actually always a byproduct of a curious examination.
Okay.
So I'm not, though I do a lot of software writing, but that is because it's a vehicle to deliver things. That's all. Nothing else.
Okay.
You understand? It's a vehicle to deliver the thing. Yeah, tell me. I hope that I have clarified.
Yeah. Yeah, sir. Sir. Personally, sir, I find Lyman Leaf Lab to be one of the most unique companies I've ever seen. So,
Yeah, it is quite unique.
yeah,
There
sir.
is there because what I'm doing is I am actually creating intellectual properties,
Yeah.
and I'm asking people take this property and run with it and start a company.
Yeah, that is very I was very curious, like how you came to an idea like let's create a company and give people ideas and then sponsor them and teach them and guide them. It was very, very intriguing, sir.
Yeah, so that is what so that is just started. I hope it succeeds. That happened because I was involved in the startup movement in many areas. I used to go to all these startup meetings and sit in the audience, and people are giving bhashan gyan, like big gyan they are giving. And I realized there's a crucial problem there. Distance, right? The mentor, the guy who's giving you gyan advice, he's sitting on the dais and we are sitting in the audience. I have started a company and I'm sweating to make the company run, right? That fellow comes in his nice coat and suit and gives big gyan and he goes away, right? So there's a distance, right? They're not fully connecting because they are ज्ञान देने में क्या प्रॉब्लम है यार हम भाषण देने में बहुत प्रॉब्लम कुछ भी नहीं है ना बिंदास भाषण दे सकते हैं राइट The problem is that the guy sitting in the audience, he's actually running his company, no?
Yeah.
Right? He's running the company. The guy there is just giving gyan. So I found that in India, we have so many mentors just giving gyan, left, right, center.
Okay.
But मैदान में उतरता नहीं है.
Yes, sir.
बाहर बैठ के ज्ञान देता है. You understand? So I
Yes,
said
sir.
that this is not going to work out. At some point, it is all going to break. So I actually want to encourage this company. I'm hoping by next 5 years, this company will be an investment organization.
Okay.
But an investment organization which is different. It's a laboratory. So I'm actually creating intellectual property inventions. Okay. That is how all these labs work. Na? IBM laboratory or HP laboratory or a Xerox lab, they work like that. They are not actually in the business. They sit and figure out what the problem is and how to solve it. Then they sell their intellectual property to others for them to take.
Yes.
Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
So that is how I work. Actually, my company is very easy to understand, nothing difficult.
Yeah.
Okay. So it is a company which generates other companies.
Yeah.
It's like
The website is also very short, simple, and sweet.
Yeah,
I read through the website, whole complete thing.
Yeah, it's very easy to understand. So I'm hoping that I've just started it. I'm hoping that I'll get people to join my workshops and then start companies. So 2022 hopefully will be interesting.
What kind of people are you looking for? Like,
You're people like you who are young, who are energetic, who are mature. What happens is some youngsters, they get very passionate about what they are doing.
Yeah.
Okay. I want people who are passionate about solving some problem, not necessarily the one which they are doing.
Yes.
Because in society, we can contribute in 100 different ways. No?
Yes.
Right? But that is one hiccup in my system, because I'm trying to target youngsters who have got this entrepreneurial spirit.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Unfortunately, many people who got an entrepreneurial spirit already are entangled in a problem they want to solve.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm telling them, no, I don't have expertise in your problem. I have 15, 16 other expertise.
Okay.
So there is a small issue there. But in that process, if there are somebody who says, okay, I am going to be an entrepreneur, and I have now with Sabu's organization, I have 15, 16 things available for me, then I will choose that instead of my own things.
Yeah.
Okay, because many people are now contacting me saying, sir, you have done so many things. Why don't you mentor me on this? So somebody from Punjab, some Sardarjis, they're nice people, nice students, youngsters, they call me up and I spend a couple of hours discussing with them. The thing is, they are doing something in hardware.
Okay.
And software. Now, I don't have expertise on that. Okay, so how do I say that? See, they were willing to pay me money also. They said that, sir, you just guide us. We will give you retainer like this, like this. I said, how can I take money when I that subject is not mine?
Yeah.
So it is not fair, right? To just give gyan. Like gyan, they make a problem. So I don't believe in that. I want people to. I should be part of that situation.
Okay.
So then I feel the pain, no? Then जो भी ज्ञान बोलते हैं, that will be correct.
Yes, sir.
So for that, I have a nice story about, you know why Steve Jobs named his company Apple?
No, sir.
I'll tell you the story what happened.
Yes.
So he used to come to India, okay?
Okay.
And then he used to go around all various hiking and all. He was a fitness guy. Like. Okay, so he used to come to India to travel around in Himalayas and all that. So these politicians talking, you know, politician ka rally. Like. So in that, the politician will say, "Hame desh ko banana hai, like that.
Okay.
So he asked somebody, everywhere he goes, people are talking banana, banana. So
So,
he so he asked somebody, he said, what is this guy saying? So he said, no, no, they are just saying like that. They will not do anything. They just say banana hai, banana hai. So when he went back, he decided he's not going to name his company Banana.
okay.
Because कुछ होता नहीं है, सिर्फ बनाना है.
Banana remains the idea only.
Yeah, it remained the idea. So he said, I will not name my company Banana. I will name it Apple.
Okay.
This is my silly joke of the day. So I don't like people just giving हवा में like कुछ भी बात करते हैं. Huh?
Yes.
That is the reason.
So, sir, staying on the topic, have you found anyone for your startups? Like, do you
Sorry?
have someone in mind for that for the sort of what to say successor to your ideas through Lyman Leap Labs? Have you
I've
found
just
someone?
started this. I've just started this. I've not done active campaigning.
Okay, okay,
So that website and everything, I just got clarified only in last couple of months.
okay.
Because I have to now you will spread the news. You'll say that this kind of laboratory is there, and if anybody wants to start a business, come and pick up my intellectual property.
Yeah,
Okay, so I will sit with them, and then I will take a royalty, and it is not done free. Like, I mean, eventually I'm taking money from that.
yeah,
Okay, but I'm trying to make the process very streamlined and clear. Like, okay,
yeah.
so instead of sitting down and thinking that I will advise on anything. No, I am willing to be part of your system. I will be part of whatever you're doing. You understand? This format I also got it because I'm now a 60-year-old guy. Like I've done a lot of things in my life.
Yeah,
So I said that might as well give back to society in a nice manner, no?
yeah.
Instead of saying that हमें बनाना है, सबको केला देता है like, right? So instead of that, might as well actually be part of put your blood and sweat and tears into it, no?
Yes.
You understand? That's the way I like to work.
Okay.
Okay.
Sir, looking back on your journey and knowing what you know now, like as a successful person, what is one piece of advice you would have given yourself along the way?
So one thing which I always tell youngsters is that never get impressed by somebody's experience. Never.
Okay.
Because you will probably have a much better experience than I will. Every experience is unique, no?
Yes, yes.
So if I tell only my experience and say मैं बोलते हैं ना मेरा ऐसा experience है ऐसा experience ऐसा ही होने वाला है, अरे who are you? I've seen only one tiny part of various experiences.
Yes, sir.
So I always, whenever I heard older people talk, I started my office when I was 25. Okay.
Okay.
So a lot of people say, बेटा मैं बोलता है ना ऐसा नहीं करने का. All big advice people will give. Like,
Yeah.
and I used to wonder that what gives anybody an authority to dictate on somebody else. अरे लाइफ में एक ही थोड़ी एक्सपीरियंस होता है. we are
Yes.
all we are all walking on a very thin narrow line, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we will think that whatever experience I had is the greatest experience in life, yeah, right? Because it's a very impressive experience. It shaped my journey, right? But your journey may not be like that. You will have much richer thing. Why should I say that your journey नहीं है वो कुछ भी नहीं है. मेरा journey है ना बहुत बहुत first class है. So that's one thing which I tell all youngsters, and I tell myself also, which was why I am the way I am, because I don't get easily convinced by most of the things. I retain a lot of skepticism.
Okay.
I check a lot of things. I do a lot of research. Because I've heard of many people, मैं बोलते हैं ना ऐसा होता है, मैं बोलता है ऐसे ही होता है. अरे यार, अगर ऐसा होता है तो तुम नोबेल प्राइज मिलता था ना, तुमको नोबेल प्राइज मिला है क्या? I mean, I don't tell like that, but I'm wondering, like, see what happens. What happens is everybody's experience is very holy. You must remember that. Okay, and it is very impressive to that person, no?
Yes.
That person has gone through that experience, so obviously he is very thrilled with it. He is very thrilled with his experience. So I consider experiences as a demanding mistress. It will keep biasing you. It will keep biasing you. मेरे तरफ से देखो, मुझे मुड़ के देखो. Okay, so whenever anybody talks purely from experience, you take it with a pinch of salt.
Okay.
So much amount of salt.
Okay. Yes, definitely.
Don't get swayed by Steve Jobs ka experience. Elon Musk, bless them, yaar. Chodo yaar. It is your life, your experience. So yes. People talking, that's called using inductive logic.
Okay.
When they put lot of inductive logic means logic arrived from various experiences one after another. And people form patterns from that, no?
Yeah.
But you got some Nobel Prize for that. Then I will listen to you. So whenever people talk about experiences, I want to understand the underlying mechanisms which were at work. Sometimes the mechanism is simple as money. Like, कुछ भी नहीं है, दिमाग में कुछ नहीं है, पैसा बहुत था. Okay. So only a few people I really like. Steve Jobs was not very wealthy, but Steve Jobs was not the main guy. It was actually Steve Wozniak who was the main guy.
Okay.
So there are many side stories which you have to understand. Okay, so it's not just one story which is there.
Okay, sir. Sir, what is one main or basic characteristic that you believe every entrepreneur should possess?
Skepticism. You have to be a skeptic. You have to not get convinced very easily. Okay, it's very important to retain some amount of distance from whatever you are investigating. If you fall in love with whatever which came in front of you, okay, then you will be swindled left, right, center. Right? Okay, so you have to be skeptic. So you have to stand away from the problem. There's a very interesting quotation by, I think, Scott Fitzgerald. He said that the sign of an intelligent person is someone who can keep two opposing ideas in your mind and still be able to function. Okay. Usually people are looking for echo chambers. When you meet somebody, he wants you to validate him. Yeah. He wants you to agree with him because he feels nice about it. Okay. So many times people clump together into mutual admiration club. You pat my back, I'll pat your back. You pat my back, I'll pat your back. Okay. So they form their own little clique, their own little circle where they are appreciating each other. Okay. So that will not lead to any great entrepreneurship.
Okay.
You have to be skeptical. You have to be very thoughtful. You have to apply a lot of critical thinking and check. Okay, yeah. So don't get convinced too fast.
I'm not from a technical background or anything related to coding or hardware or anything. So what would be one piece of advice for people like me?
So what you have to do is you have to convert what you think is your disadvantage into an advantage. Like it
Oh,
is easy for you to stand away from the problem, right? When you see coders, they are so excited by coding. Wow, I can code, and you are standing, मुझे coding मालूम ही नहीं है. Okay, so irrespective of whether you know coding or not know coding or anything, you can always do critical thinking.
okay.
Okay, you can understand probability. You should learn basics of probability, basic of statistics. How does somebody say I did this thing, it worked, but in that situation maybe you have to do multiple samples before you can make a conclusion.
Yes, sir.
So that does not require you to code. You have to have logical thinking. You have to have critical thinking. So you have to weed out logical fallacies, and you have to understand what all bias can come in your discussion, and you have to correct that biases.
Okay.
Require any coding or anything. You need to think
Yeah.
through clearly. Like, okay, acha, this guy's produced this. Acha, theek hai. Abhi, if I give lot of numbers, will this thing work?
Yes.
Whatever he has done, and he say, oh, I didn't realize it. ये एक के लिए काम करते हैं,
Yes, sir.
50 के लिए नहीं काम कर रहे हैं. फिर उसका फायदा क्या है? So you have to ask really good probing questions.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so technology, they say, does not make a business. That is correct, but technology can break a business.
Okay.
Okay, if the guy gets so obsessed by his technology, it can break that business.
Yes.
Okay, so you have to know whether easy, if many things are given for that particular software, will it work? Or will it slow down? Or will it crash? All that you have to think.
Yes, sir.
That is how it is.
Okay. I'll definitely work on that advice, sir. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
yeah. You don't have to feel
So
guilty that, "अरे, मुझे coding नहीं मालूम है, ये नहीं मालूम है." Don't not worry about that.
okay, sir. Definitely. So I believe it is safe to say that for the next 5 or 10 years, you will be working with new entrepreneurs and shaping their careers.
Hopefully, that's what I want to do. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So if you can help me and spread the news and say that these are the things which is going on in this company, okay, where you have, what it is. Also, I'm uniquely poised. I had an interesting journey till here, and luckily, touch wood, I've survived. Okay, I'm not particularly wealthy or anything. I've survived till here. I've done pretty interesting stuff in my life. Okay, so now I want to make it even more interesting. You
I'm
understand?
sure, sir, a lot of people would be willing to be proud of that interesting journey from now.
Yeah, because I was very thrilled with the kind of thing which I did when I was 25, 28 years old.
Yes, sir.
So I want to recreate that in 25, 28 years old.
Yes, sir.
You understand?
Yes, sir.
I want to recreate the same thing.
Okay.
That's how I work.
Yeah, sir. So,
Great.
yeah, sir. That's almost in all what I wanted to capture in this interview and
Thank you
get
very
the real-time knowledge from leaders like you while studying. So, thank you so much, sir, for your valuable time for this interview.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sarthak. You have a patient mind and you are able to listen well, which is very important. Okay, so if you are in a position to organize your thoughts and listen, you have won half the race.
Thank you so much, sir.
Okay.
It
Yeah,
really
so
means
that is
a lot to
very
get a
nice
compliment
way.
from you.
No. I'm not a great guy or anything. That doesn't matter. What I'm doing, that is important.
Yes.
Okay. What I am is not very critical. Okay. So you have to really sit and understand and think through, remove fallacies, remove biases. Biases are very difficult to remove, but at least you know that these biases are there.
Yeah.
And so learn about cognitive biases, learn about logical fallacies. Okay. You already know how to listen well, which is very nice. Okay, be cheerful all the time, and don't get too impressed by the world around you. Yeah,
Okay, sir. Definitely.
keep a very nice, a healthy dose of skepticism, because people will try to sell you everything. No,
Yes, sir.
so you have to criticize and you say, okay, इसमें क्या गलती है, इसमें क्या गलत हो सकता है. Okay, what else? Maybe even with what I am giving, you have to tell me that, okay, where I could be going wrong. Like I already told you, one of the things where I could be going wrong is when I try to tell youngsters they're already engaged with some other problem.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm not getting youngsters whom I really want. I
Yes,
cannot
sir.
catch people by the throat and say, no, 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 don't do that. Come here and do.
While I was going through that website, I had that same query, like why will someone go for already decided plan if they have their own plan? So you already
Yeah,
mentioned.
so I'm not saying that my problem is the only problem in the world. I'm not saying like that.
Yeah,
I'm saying that these are the problems which I have worked. If you like it, come.
yeah,
You understand?
yes,
And
sir,
some of
yes,
them will come because many times what has happened is, what I found in our country is, people are selecting very, very non-executable problems.
okay,
You understand?
yeah,
Problems which really cannot be very easily executed. Like it requires lots of people, it requires a lot of money. Okay,
yeah,
it requires changes in the law. Those kind of things are what people are doing.
yeah,
So if you don't have execution capability, then idea to फिर हवा में ही रहेगा ना.
yes.
That is why.
Oh,
Nice talking to you here. You're a pretty nice guy. Like, don't
thank you
worry.
so much.